Good morning. Today I'm very happy to welcome Mr. Lincoln Greenidge. His background is finance, but right now he made his book debut with No More Excuses, now available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. Good morning, Lincoln.
Good morning, Sharif. How are you today?
Everything is fine. I appreciate you accepting the interview and congratulations for the launch of your new book on digital and printed versions. First, I want to ask you about your background, your studies. Can we run through it very fast before we speak about the book?
Well, I'll try and be quick, but I've sort of worked in about six different industries over the past 30, 34 years. Started in banking back in St. Lucia, where I was born in the Caribbean. Um, Migrated to Ottawa, Canada. Spent 9 years in Ottawa. Went to University of Ottawa, and then worked for Coopers and Lybrand in Ottawa, which is an accounting firm. And then after that, Nortel Networks and MDS, which is a health and life science company in Toronto, Canada. And then a little over 15 years, I started in mining, started with IM Gold and Hudbay Minerals, and then I've worked in mining since then. And just recently, I was appointed president and CEO of Sandfire Resources America, and we have a project in White Sulphur Springs, Black Butte copper project, and we're hoping to get that underground mine built, which will support the needs of the United States in terms of its demand for copper and for all of the infrastructure needs of the United States, certainly for years to come. What I'm very pleased about is to ensure that we do it sustainably and with a commitment to the community, because that's and of course that means its people, which is extremely important for me and certainly for the company. But that's basically a summary of where we are. We can go into any detail, and I've written many articles over the years, but on finance. So this book is sort of a deviation from it. But at the end of the day, whether you're in finance or any other profession or a trade, we all make excuses. And this is basically the book that I've written to highlight some of those excuses that we make on a daily basis and why it's actually poison to the soul.
When the idea of the book started tackling in your mind?
Well, let's put it this way: excuses are not a foreign thing. It happens on a daily basis. My whole life has been listening to people, even myself, making excuses. And I've always said that I should write a book. It just came natural to me that that book should be about excuses. And why? Because it's something that's close to me. I've seen people around me make excuses. And as I say, I've made excuses as well. And one of the common things with doing that is you never get ahead, you never succeed at anything if you make excuses, because it's really that sort of warm embrace, comfort zone that causes you to stagnate and remain where you are. And I've seen people complain about why they're not succeeding and why they're not progressing. And excuses are always one of the things that common elements of the reasons that they use. Many reasons, but they're just excuses. They're not real, because when you look within your own soul, you realize that what's stopping you from stepping into the light and realizing your full potential is really you. And those excuses are a way to actually verbalize those limitations that you put on yourself.
Yes. I want to ask you before we run through the book.
Right.
I want to ask you about the dedication. You
Mm.
dedicated the book to your father.
Yes.
He has big influence on yourself
He
and
has.
your
Yes.
family, and then God. I
Yes.
want tell me how much family values and your father life and uh, inheritance, the valuable ideas and thoughts he gave you
Mhm.
influence you positively on your life and while processing the writing of the book.
No, thank you. So, um, one of the things that's very critical and important to me, and hopefully it should be for everyone else, is that it's not about what people say. So, my dad didn't say much in terms of providing me with the blueprints for life. Um, what was more important, and what I think everyone should sort of take from it, is that it's what he did, the example he sets of how he lived his life, how he helped others. I think there's no better testament to someone than what they do. You can say whatever you want. Parents can, lots of parents do one thing and say another thing, or say one thing but do something else. And then they tell their children, "Do as I say, not as I do." Actually, no. It's actually we should be setting the example of what we did, and that's what my dad did. So that example was what has brought me through and has given me sort of the framework and the foundation that I have and how I live my life. So the dedication to him was very easy. He really lived a life of purpose. His focus in life was just helping others, and that to me is a purpose that everyone should sort of embrace, the service to others. Um, and like everything else, my mom was on, the two of them worked well together, because while my dad was sort of, fulfilling his purpose, obviously she had to, as a professional woman as well, and she was in a bank for many years, and a businesswoman. She took care of the family, and ensured that we were taken care of and on the right path, while he continued to actually help others. So those are examples of action, which is why when I wrote the book, I had to dedicate it to my dad, and but it would be remiss of me not to do the same for my mom, and of course, my wife and my children, and my two sisters, who have been very supportive in everything that I've done and I continue to do. So I'm truly blessed.
Yes. I want to ask you about, before we speak about the book as well,
Right.
about the excuses that you tried to overcome
Mm.
along with your life, and the challenges also you faced, uh, and so you finalized your studies. You moved from Saint Lucia to Canada, then you are now in the United States, and then trying to export your knowledge to other, communicating with people in different languages as well, because the book is available also in Spanish. Tell me about the excuses you tried to overcome yourself.
So thanks for asking. I have to say that I've always been positive minded, and I've always known from very young that excuses are what you put on yourself, and they're not real. I never had as big a challenge um, of overcoming those, because I've always been positive minded, and my career has shown that. So it didn't take much of a leap, but nevertheless, it's important to have recognized those excuses so that I never actually made them. Some excuses that I made, they were short-lived, because again, I realized that they were just excuses, and they were my way of not wanting to take risks. But the book was more important for me. The one of the main reasons for the book was, I had a lot of people around me, and they still to this day, who were very talented and very, very talented, but yet they seem to um, not want to. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead. Please repeat the last answer, Lincoln.
Okay, sorry about that. So for some reason, the screens went blank. I was saying for me, it's not as much as challenges that I have faced or I've gone through in overcoming those excuses, because I've always been positive minded. For me, it was more of trying to inspire others and people around me that I believe to be very talented, but yet they kept making excuses for not progressing in life or succeeding. And I knew that there were many more, because many people I've met over those years, whether it's family or just acquaintances or colleagues. I've seen some who are really are doing what they love, and but many are not. And I wanted to make sure that if I could fulfill my purpose in serving others, that one of the ways to serve is to also sort of shed light on the fact that the limitations that we put on ourselves are just that, what we put on ourselves, and excuses are a way to support those inaction, and that was sort of poison to the soul, or it is, and we should stop doing it. So that was the impetus for writing the book.
Yes. I want to ask you right now about the book. I've reading it, and my wife as well liked it very much. And of course, you know that the impact of each book depends on the person, background, culture, age,
Sure.
gender. My wife and I, you know us, we are from different two continents, not only
Yes.
different countries. And you know, everyone perspective about family values, God, work, excuses as well. What I can see white, other can see it gray or black, you know,
Yes.
depends. And also on the state of mind, you know. But
Right.
I want to ask you, like if we can consider you made like a safe passage from being a finance expert and a business advisor to a book author. Did you, did you incorporate your financial knowledge, I mean, into the broader theme while focusing, you know, on the themes of the book while focusing on personal growth and decision making yourself?
Well, so that's quite a bit to unpack. Number one, when it comes to family values, uh, it's one of those things that's an individual. Each person has to sort of embrace that, and obviously, certain cultures are more prone to it than others. But everyone has the ability to recognize that they are here for a purpose, and that the people around them, um, um, they have to treat individually. So for example, if you grew up with parents and that were loving and caring, you should do the same. If you grew up with parents that were not loving or caring, you should not do the same, because ultimately, you learn from both. You learn from the good and what you embraced and appreciated from your upbringing, and and you also learn what not to do from the bringing where your parents or people around you were not as kind and not as loving. Um, but ultimately, it doesn't matter what culture you are from, what race, what creed, what circumstance in terms of economic status. Excuses are always there because it's an individual thing. And for us to get away from that is liberating, and it's what I want from everyone, irrespective of what their backgrounds are. From my standpoint, in terms of business, the way I look at it is no matter what business you're in, as I said, whether you're professional or not, you will find that excuses exist. And how I was able to utilize some of those is from my experiences. I've heard and seen excuses in business, in finance. So this book is really for everyone. It's not a business book. It's not a fictional book. It's not a book for spiritual people only. It's not a book for religious people only. It's for everyone. Anyone with a soul who actually realizes that the excuses that they give uh, to mask and keep them from actually stepping into the light, stepping into their truth, and stepping into a life where they can fulfill their purpose of serving others, and to do that with meaning. That to me is the bridge between finance and what I'm doing. And really, it's not really a bridge in my opinion, because whether, as I said, whether you're in finance or not, this book should be helpful to everyone, irrespective of their professional sort of focus or lack of.
Yes. You have a great subtitle explaining the book
Right.
and the content of the book. The subtitle is Taking the First Step to Living a Life of Purpose with Meaning.
Yes.
I think such subtitle, can make the readers feel that the first step is very crucial. I mean, taking the first step. I
Yes.
think taking the first step or changing direction in your own life can be the most significant turn point. Then I think you can get over it and you start to change and feeling growth in yourself. Tell it a little bit what can the readers or the would-be readers, after seeing and hearing an interview, what can they start first to do, as an exercise to
Right.
overcome the difficulty of the first baby step, like sometimes we call it this way.
No, absolutely. No, thank you for asking. So here's the way I look at this, and which is extremely important, because listen, you notice I didn't put a 12-step program or any of this stuff, but it's important to understand the fundamentals. And the key is, number one, we all have a purpose. If you don't believe you have a purpose, then I think it's going to be a challenge for you, because then you are wayward. You don't know what your overall goal needs to be, right? Or you have a goal, but it flows with the wind, or it sways with the wind, and it goes wherever the wind goes. When understand fundamentally that your purpose is to serve, now you've laid the foundation for everything else that comes after. So your purpose is to serve. So now the question is, well, how do I to live a fulfilled life? If you're someone who is good at if you're good at one thing, trying to do something else, right, just because everybody else does it, cannot be fulfilling. People who do things that are fulfilling to them is because for the most part, they love it, they're passionate about it. So it's important to understand what it is that you're good at. And trust me, everyone is good at something. The problem is that society and family and just friends and so forth, they may sway you in one direction, But you don't have to allow that to happen, because ultimately, what's joyful, what's fulfilling to you, using the talents that you have and the skills that you have, is necessary in order to fulfill your purpose. So you don't want to be good at with children and then go and do something that has no children involved. You don't want to be good with animals and do something that's not including animals. You don't want to be good at speaking and basically stay quiet. You don't want to be good in technology and do something that doesn't have technology. You don't want to be good with just listening or with to people and giving them advice, and do something that has no people involved. The key is that you need to do what's use your skills, but including that really is to understand that, again, know your purpose, know the skills that you have, and recognize, and that's very important, recognize that the power to do and to use the skills and to actually fulfill your purpose is within you. The power is within you. So if you think of people who actually believe in the God of your understanding, know that, and that's why the first book is about is saying waiting on God for a sign. A lot of people wait on God for a sign when really and truly God is within you, and only if you pause and you accept the fact that the power is within you to actually move forward, right? Only then will you actually realize your full potential. You'll have a meaningful life, fulfilled life, because waiting on God is basically a distraction. It's a way to comfort yourself and not take risk. It's a way for you not to step into the light, for you not to take the first step, because fear and doubt causes you to not do so. Whether you believe in God or not, your positive minded self needs to actually recognize that the power is within you, and it's your choice whether you actually embrace it or not.
Lincoln, I want to ask you that we can make like every now and then, according to your time, like a discussion of each chapter, you know.
Right.
And for the time being, people will discover the book throughout our interview. What I want to ask you, if you would like to make a call to action, like we say in the marketing or CTA, for readers to discover your book,
Mhm.
how can you position the book for them, regardless of their age, culture, challenges around the world? Okay, I want to say I'm Lincoln Greenidge, and I want you to to uh, to consider reading my book because one, two, three, four.
Well, my name is Lincoln Greenidge, and I appeal to everyone listening to this or watching uh, to read my book, No More Excuses: Taking the First Step to Living a Life of Purpose with Meaning. I believe that it will change your life for the better if you first understand that your purpose in life is to serve. No matter who you are, your purpose is to serve. That's number one. Number two, in order to serve, you need to understand what your talents and your skills are, because each one of us has talents and skills. And once you've understood that you could harness it, nurture it, and use it in order to fulfill your purpose. And number three, which is very, very important, that you, me, every one of us has the power to make those changes. Those changes are not left to anyone outside of us, but is within us to change. Do that, and your success would be around the corner. But the commitment must be made to first understand your purpose, two, to fulfill that purpose by using the skills that you have, and three, to ensure that you understand that is within you to actually make that choice. Because the power to actually ensure that the possibilities and the potential that you have within you are realized. Only you can do it. Hopefully, that book inspires you to live that life of purpose with meaning.
This is great, Lincoln. I want to mention for our viewers and listeners that the first chapter or the first excuse in the book is I'm waiting on God for a sign. And I want to tell you that I would like to discuss it with you in the next episode of our discussion. But let me say that for all the people that here is the thing, the knowledge of God is quite different from culture to culture, from age to age,
Right.
and from religion to religion. And as well, but I think this excuse is common for with many people, like in my own country, Egypt, and my own religion, Islam. A lot of people thinks that they can pray and ask God for a lot of things without making the necessary action to realize that. They only pray, and without making an action to make their dreams come true. But let us discuss this in our upcoming episode. I want to thank you very, very much for taking the time to come live with us. I congratulate you for the book, the and its release, and I wish you all the success. And as far as I know, you are preparing to release other books, other follow-ups.
Yeah.
So break a leg in doing so.
Thank you, Sharif. Thank you so much.
And my best wishes for your different line of action, different practices in your work, and as your current work in mining, and also your inspirational work as an author.
Thank you so much, Sharif. All the best to you and your family.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you. Have a lovely day.
You do
Bye.
likewise. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.